US has warned Iran that the worst is yet to come as fresh Israeli strikes hit Tehran overnight.
Iceland is proposing to hold a referendum on the 29th of August on the resumption of negotiations for accession to the EU.
Israeli warplanes lit up the skies over Tehran in the early hours of Saturday as the United States warned Iran that the worst is still to come. The White House has approved a $129 million arms sale to Israel after Donald Trump said Washington would not negotiate with Iran unless it agrees to, quote, an unconditional surrender. Since the conflict began, the United States and Israel have launched a series of strikes on Iran, targeting its military capabilities, senior leadership, and nuclear program. Meanwhile, Iran fired another wave of retaliatory missiles on Friday, striking Israel and several Gulf countries that host US forces. Speaking on state television on Saturday, Iran's president rejected Washington's demand for unconditional surrender, calling it, quote, a dream they should take to their grave. He also apologized for Iran's attacks on regional countries, saying Tehran would halt them, and suggesting they were the result of a breakdown in communication within Iran's military ranks.
People here in Doha were woken up around 3:30 this morning by a loud national emergency alert on our phones, warning of an elevated risk. Soon after, Qatar's Ministry of Defense says it intercepted a drone heading towards the Al Udeid Air Base, home of the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. That came less than 24 hours after a series of loud explosions were heard across the city. It was the largest barrage of missile attacks here since the war began a week ago. Qatar's Ministry of Defense says its air defenses intercepted 4 drones and 13 ballistic missiles. Officials say a 14th missile landed in Qatari territorial waters. Diplomatically, tensions are also rising. On Thursday, Gulf and European foreign ministers held an emergency virtual meeting condemning what they called unjustified Iranian attacks on GCC states. Qatar says it has long tried to act as a bridge between Iran and the international community, but warned these attacks are now putting bilateral relations under strain. Meanwhile, flight tracking service FlightAware says nearly 25,000 flights have been canceled since the start of the war. Qatar's airspace remains closed, leaving 8,000 stranded passengers in limbo, while some are opting to travel by road to Saudi Arabia and catching a flight from Riyadh. Adil Halim, Euronews, Doha.
Kosovo treći put ide u nepunih godinu dana u vanredne parlamentarne izbore. Prvi put 9. februara kada vlada nije bila konstituisana, drugi put je vlada konstituisana u decembru prošle godine, međutim sada je vlada pala zbog neizbora predsjednika Kosova u ustavnom roku. Kosovska predsjednica Vjosa Osmani parlament je raspustila i znaće se u toku dana kada će izbori biti raspisani. Ono što kažu poznavaoci političkih prilika jeste da izbori svima odgovaraju, osim stranci Albina Kurtija, ali i da se pokušaj Albinu Kurtiju da eliminiše politički Vjosu Osmani njemu vratio kao bumerang. Anđelka Ćup za Euronews sa Kosova.
The date has now been set. The Icelandic government is proposing to hold a referendum on the 29th of August on the resumption of negotiations for accession to the European Union. A resolution is expected to be presented to Parliament next week, according to the Minister for Foreign Affairs. For its part, the European Commission welcomes this announcement.
Welcome the announcement by the Icelandic authorities on the plan to hold a referendum on the possible resumption of accession negotiations between Iceland and the European Union. Iceland is a close and valued partner of the EU. Our cooperation is already strong and wide-ranging, and we look forward to continuing and further strengthening our close cooperation with the Icelandic authorities.
Iceland submitted its application for membership in 2009 in the wake of the international financial crisis that had severely shaken the island. Discussions between 2010 and 2013 resulted in the closure of 11 of the 33 negotiation chapters. However, in 2015, the Icelandic government decided to leave the negotiating table.